Sonny Corleone's car, shredded by bullets in The Godfather 1972, is burned into cinema history. But behind that legendary film are 12 actors whose real-life endings were often more heartbreaking than what played out on screen. Some were icons, others quiet souls. All are now gone, but their legacy still lingers. In this video, we remember each of them and the lives they lived behind the characters we'll never forget. If a story moved you, hit like, and tell us in the comments which one stayed with you. John Cazale played Fredo Corleone, the weak and conflicted brother in The Godfather, a role that brought both frustration and deep sympathy from audiences. He was 37 at the time. Cazale was born on August 12, 1935 in Massachusetts. His portrayal of Fredo captured a kind of quiet sadness that mirrored his own life. In just 6 short years, he acted in only 5 films, but every single one was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars: The Conversation, Dog Day Afternoon, The Godfather Part 2, The Deer Hunter, and of course, the original Godfather. His performances were always layered with emotion and vulnerability. Director Sidney Lumet once said, "Cazale had an infinite sadness. It showed in every frame." In 1977, he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Even then, he insisted on finishing The Deer Hunter, despite warnings from doctors. Robert De Niro personally paid part of the production costs to keep Cazale in the film, knowing no one else could play that role. His partner, Meryl Streep, stayed by his side every single day, hoping to buy just a little more time with him. John Cazale died on March 13, 1978, in New York at age 42. He was buried at Holy Cross Cemetery in Malden, Massachusetts. The Deer Hunter hadn't even been released yet. To his closest friends, like Al Pacino, Cazale wasn't just a great actor. He was one of the greatest of all time. Fredo broke our hearts on screen, and in many ways, so did the man who played him. Al Lettieri played Virgil the Turk Sollozzo, a cold, calculating heroin trafficker bold enough to challenge Don Vito Corleone. He was 44 when he took on the role, and his performance was so chilling that even the Don tread carefully. What made the role unforgettable was that Lettieri didn't have to reach far to play it. He was fluent in Italian and, according to some sources, was actually related by blood to real-life Genovese crime boss Thomas Aboli. He understood that world because he lived close to it. Al Pacino even revealed in a 2024 memoir that before filming, Lettieri took him to meet real mobsters to help him prepare for the role of Michael Corleone. Before The Godfather, Lettieri had already built a reputation for playing dangerous men. He starred opposite Marlon Brando in The Night of the Following Day, Steve McQueen in The Getaway, and Charles Bronson in Mr. Majestic. He even wrote the screenplay adaptation for the 1971 gangster film Villain. Whether playing a brute or a smooth-talking seducer, Lettieri never seemed like he was acting. It always felt like he was channeling something real. But off-screen, his life wasn't much different. He lived like a character out of his own movies, hooked on alcohol and cigarettes, partying constantly, and going through 2 failed marriages. Friends said he always looked exhausted, like he knew his time was running out. On October 18, 1975, just 3 years after The Godfather made him internationally known, Al Lettieri died of a heart attack in New York City. He was only 47. He made villains unforgettable, maybe because he wasn't just playing one, he understood them better than anyone. Richard Bright played Al Neri, Michael Corleone's cold, loyal bodyguard who rarely spoke but always followed through. He was 35 when he first stepped into the role, and he would go on to appear in all 3 films of the trilogy. As Neri, he was the one who executed Don Barzini during the Baptism Massacre, the one who ended Fredo's fate on Lake Tahoe, and the one who delivered judgment to Archbishop Gilday in Part 3. Off-screen, Bright's life was far less polished. Born on June 28, 1937 in Brooklyn, New York, he began acting on live television at 18. But recognition was slow. In the 1960s, he was arrested multiple times for his role in The Beard, a controversial play labeled obscene. Though he eventually won in court, the reputation of being a troublemaker stuck. His marriage to actress Rutanya Alda faced years of strain, mostly due to his long absences and deep involvement in indie cinema, experimental theater, and early interactive media. Over time, his connection with his children also weakened. In his final years, Bright was often seen using an oxygen tank due to emphysema. Instead of hiding it, he subtly folded the decline into his roles, blending life with performance. On February 18, 2006, tragedy struck when Bright was hit by the rear wheels of a tour bus while crossing a Manhattan street. The driver never noticed. There were no charges filed. Richard Bright died at 68, quietly like his most famous character, always there in the shadows, watching, waiting, and when necessary, acting with deadly precision. Marlon Brando played Don Vito Corleone in The Godfather, 1972, and that role became the heart of the film. At 48, with his raspy voice and solemn stare, he fully became the aging mafia boss and won his second Academy Award for it. Off-screen, his life was filled with personal pain. He went through 3 marriages, all ending in heartbreak. His first wife, Anna Kashfi, left after less than 2 years. His second, Movita Castaneda, had their marriage annulled over legal issues. And his third, with Tahitian actress Tarita Terriapaya, ended quietly after years of conflict and scandal. The biggest tragedy of Brando's life came in 1990, when his son Christian fatally shot his sister Cheyenne's boyfriend at Brando's own home. 6 years later, Cheyenne passed away at 25 after long struggles with depression and substance use. Brando later admitted, "I was a terrible father." From that point on, he became increasingly withdrawn, struggled with his health, and leaned heavily on alcohol. On July 1, 2004, Marlon Brando died at age 80 from respiratory failure due to pulmonary fibrosis and congestive heart failure. He also suffered from diabetes and liver cancer. His ashes were scattered in Tahiti, his last paradise, and in Death Valley, next to the ashes of his lifelong friend Wally Cox. He was the Godfather on screen, but in real life he carried wounds that never fully healed. James Caan played Sonny Corleone, the fiery oldest son of the Corleone family. He was 32 when he took on the role, and it earned him an Oscar nomination and a permanent place in movie history. Caan was born on March 26, 1940, in the Bronx, New York. In real life, much like Sonny, he was known for his tough, impulsive energy. He married 4 times, all ending in divorce. His second marriage, to actress Sheila Ryan, lasted less than a year. He had 5 children, including actor Scott Caan, though James later admitted their relationship was often strained. He once said he regretted not being there enough for his kids. The 1980s were his lowest point. After losing his sister to leukemia, Caan fell into a long depression, struggled with substance use, and stayed away from acting for 5 years. At one point, he even considered quitting entirely, until a heartbreaking moment when he saw his dog losing weight because he couldn't afford food. That snapped him back to life. Outside of acting, Caan was a black belt in karate and a rodeo competitor. He was also known for living on the edge. He once admitted the FBI had him on a watch list over rumored mafia connections. He was even accused of hiring someone to intimidate Joe Pesci over an unpaid hotel bill, though nothing came of it. Even as he aged, Caan never stopped working. From Elf 2003 to Get Smart 2008, Queen Bees 2021, and his final role in Fast Charlie 2023 with Pierce Brosnan, he kept going. He even asked Coppola for one last cameo in Megalopolis, calling it his swan song. James Caan died on July 6, 2022 in Los Angeles at the age of 82. The cause was a heart attack related to coronary artery disease. He also suffered from COPD and heart failure. He was laid to rest at Eden Memorial Park Cemetery, among Jewish legends of Hollywood. On screen, he was the hot-headed Sonny. In real life, he was just as intense, but always fighting to come back. Sterling Hayden played Captain McCluskey, the corrupt and brutal police officer. He was 56 at the time. His role lasted just a few minutes, but with his towering presence and haunted expression, he left a lasting impression. Hayden was born on March 26, 1916 in Upper Montclair, New Jersey. Standing at 6'5", he was once called the most beautiful man in movies during the 1940s. But he hated the spotlight. To him, Hollywood was just a way to earn money for what he truly loved, sailing. He vanished from film sets to cross oceans, chasing freedom at sea. That freedom came at a cost. He went through 2 failed marriages, first to actress Madeleine Carroll, then to Betty DeNoon, and became estranged from his children. He battled alcoholism and carried deep guilt for selling out to Hollywood. "I never wanted to be an actor," he once said. "I just wanted a boat and to get away." Despite his resentment toward the industry, Hayden gave unforgettable performances in noir classics like The Asphalt Jungle and The Killing. He returned to the screen in full force with Dr. Strangelove, playing the unhinged General Jack D. Ripper. His brief appearance in The Godfather wasn't just another role, it symbolized the conflict he lived with, duty versus personal freedom. Sterling Hayden died of prostate cancer on May 23, 1986 in Sausalito, California at age 70. He was a sailor, an actor, a rebel, and one of cinema's most fascinating mysteries. Richard S. Castellano played Peter Clemenza, the loyal and street-smart capo regime in The Godfather, 1972, famous for the improvised line, "Leave the gun, take the cannoli." He was 39 when he stepped into the role. Born on September 4, 1933 in Queens, New York, to Sicilian immigrant parents, Castellano already had an Oscar nomination under his belt for Lovers and Other Strangers, 1970. He was a familiar face in both film and television, starring in The Super, 1972, and the sitcom Joe and Sons, 1975-1976. He often played tough but lovable Italian dads, mixing gruffness with charm. But Castellano didn't return for The Godfather Part 2. Reports say it was due to a disagreement with director Francis Ford Coppola over control of his dialogue. His absence marked the beginning of a slow fade from the spotlight. Behind the scenes, he struggled with health issues and the stress of the industry. He had heart problems, and the pressure took a toll on his personal life. He was married twice. One marriage ended in divorce, the second lasted, but it became strained as his health declined. On December 10, 1988, Richard Castellano died suddenly of a heart attack at his home in North Bergen, New Jersey. He was only 55. He left behind one of the most quotable moments in movie history and a quiet legacy of talent that never quite got its full due. Richard Conte played Don Emilio Barzini, the rival mafia boss with a cold stare and a calm hand behind the film's bloodiest betrayals. He was 62 when he took on the role. Born Nicholas Peter Conti on March 24, 1910 in Jersey City, New Jersey, he came from humble beginnings. To make ends meet, he worked as a truck driver, singing waiter and shoe salesman. His big break came at a Connecticut resort, where he was discovered by director Elia Kazan, an encounter that changed his life. Conte rose to fame in the 1940s and 50s with standout roles in film noir and crime dramas like Cry of the City, Whirlpool, and The Big Combo. With his sharp features and steady voice, he became the face of the smooth but dangerous villain. But off-screen, life wasn't always smooth. He was married twice. His first marriage to actress Ruth Story ended in divorce. His second, to Shirley Garner, lasted until his death, but was weighed down by health issues and financial struggles. His son, Mark Conte, became a film editor. His grandson, Chris Canty, later played in the NFL. On April 3, 1975, Richard Conte suffered a massive heart attack and stroke. After 8 hours in intensive care at UCLA Medical Center, he passed away on April 15th at the age of 65. He was laid to rest at Westwood Memorial Park in Los Angeles, among the legends of Hollywood where he always belonged. John Marley played Jack Waltz, the proud, arrogant Hollywood producer in The Godfather, 1972. His screen time was short but unforgettable. At 65, he delivered one of cinema's most iconic moments, waking up to find his beloved horse's head in bed. His horrified scream became legend. Born Mortimer Leon Marl on October 17, 1907 in Harlem, New York, Marley built a long career over 45 years, appearing in nearly 250 films and TV shows. He won the Volpe Cup at the Venice Film Festival for Faces, 1968, and earned Oscar and Golden Globe nominations for Love Story, 1970. Still, it was The Godfather that made him part of pop culture forever. Despite his impressive resume, Marley never fully broke into the A-list. That lack of recognition bothered him. He was married twice and had 3 children. In his later years, health problems and reclusiveness took a toll. His second marriage to Beverly struggled under the weight of his isolation and heart disease. In 1984, at age 76, John Marley died after open-heart surgery. He was quietly buried at Cedar Park Cemetery in Emerson, New Jersey, fitting for a man whose loudest legacy came from a single unforgettable scream. Ab Vigoda played Salvatore Tessio, the once loyal capo regime who ultimately betrays the Corleone family. He was 51 at the time, and his quiet, resigned performance made Tessio a lasting symbol of quiet treachery in mafia film history. Born Abraham Charles Vigoda on February 24, 1921 in Brooklyn, New York, to Russian Jewish immigrants, Vigoda started acting in the 1940s. He later gained fame as Detective Phil Fish on the hit series Barney Miller and its spin-off Fish. In 1982, People magazine mistakenly reported his death. In response, Vigoda posed for a photo lying in a coffin, holding the article as a joke. That moment sparked decades of running gags about his supposed death, jokes that Vigoda himself often embraced with good humor. He was married twice but found little lasting happiness in either relationship. After the death of his second wife in 1992, he lived a mostly reclusive life. He once expressed frustration about being typecast in supporting roles, which limited his artistic growth. Still, his calm intensity turned that limitation into a legacy. His line, "Can you get me off the hook, Tom, for old time's sake?" remains one of the most quoted in mafia movie history. Abe Vigoda passed away on January 26, 2016, at his daughter's home in New Jersey. No longer a punchline, but the final chapter of a long and storied life. Al Martino played Johnny Fontaine, the desperate singer who begs Don Corleone to save his crumbling career. At 45, Martino wasn't just acting, he was drawing from his own life. Born Jasper Cini on October 7, 1927 in Philadelphia, Martino became a star in the early 1950s with the hit Here in My Heart, which topped the first-ever UK singles chart. But behind the fame, trouble followed. The mafia allegedly bought his contract and extorted him for $75,000. Fearing for his safety, Martino fled to England, where he lived in exile while his American career fell apart. When The Godfather was cast, the role of Johnny Fontaine initially went to singer Vic Damone, but according to rumors, Martino, backed by crime boss Russell Bufalino, pressured the studio with negative press. Damone dropped out and Martino reclaimed the part. In many ways, he didn't just play Johnny Fontaine, he was Johnny Fontaine. Martino married 3 times, with the first 2 ending in divorce. He struggled with alcoholism and financial troubles in his later years, but remained beloved for his warm baritone voice and for his presence in Godfather reruns. He died of heart failure on October 13, 2009, just 6 days after his 82nd birthday, at his home in Springfield, Pennsylvania. He was laid to rest at Holy Cross Cemetery in California, his story closing the way it was told on screen, with music, loyalty, and quiet sorrow. Morgana King played Carmela Corleone, the quiet but strong matriarch of the Corleone family. At 42, she gave the role a gentle presence that held deep emotional weight. Though she barely spoke on screen, she anchored the family's soul. Born Maria Grazia Morgana Messina. On June 4, 1930, in Pleasantville, New York, King was best known not for acting but for her voice. She was a jazz singer with a rare contralto range that spanned 4 octaves. Over her career, she released more than 30 albums and earned a Grammy nomination. Critics admired her talent, but mainstream stardom always seemed to stay just out of reach. King married twice, both times to respected jazz musicians. Her first marriage to trumpeter Tony Frusella ended in divorce. Her second husband, trombonist Willie Dennis, died in a car accident just 4 years after they wed. In 2008, she lost her only daughter, Grayson, a grief that lingered through her final years. Morgana King passed away from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma on March 22, 2018, in Palm Springs, California, at the age of 87. There were no headlines, no fanfare, just the quiet farewell of a woman who brought dignity, depth, and quiet sadness to one of cinema's most legendary families. The Godfather isn't just a film, it's a legacy. And behind that legacy are real people, with stories as heartbreaking and powerful as the characters they played. Which character left the deepest mark on you? And now that you know what happened to the actors behind them, how does it make you feel? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories from the world of cinema.